Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, the 16th of March, 2023, and we're going to take a look at the difference between distribution and consolidation. Now, you guys know my favorite setup is pump, consolidate, pump, or the VCP setup, where a stock will rally in the opening drive and then consolidate. It'll go sideways, maybe a little bit down, but it'll hold above VWAP for the most part, or in fact, all the time, really. And then it'll do it on lowering volumes, and it might do that for an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And then eventually there'll be a volume spike to the upside, and ta-da! We've got a nice PCP or a VCP setup. Now, I've got videos extensively on this. It's my favorite setup of all time, A+. But some people are getting trapped because they don't understand the difference between distribution and consolidation. So I'd like to clear that up so you guys hopefully don't get trapped and save yourself some capital. This is a trend in the microcap space that I've never seen repeated so often. I noticed it happen 2 or 3 times in a row, and straight away I put out a warning of watch but don't act. There's a trend that's been happening where there's an opening drive on relatively low volumes. Then from there's a distribution with high volumes, and then the stock may likely sit below VWAP briefly, and then do a fake push above VWAP, and then grind down for the rest of the day. Now, sitting below VWAP might not necessarily happen. It depends on the shares on issue. So a stock with more volatility, a stock with denomination of maybe 4 cents or higher, maybe 5 cents or higher, will actually get below VWAP. But a stock in the sort of 1.5 to 3 cent range won't necessarily dip below VWAP, because every tick matters really in this kind of space. And we'll just take a look at it, and I'll show you guys what it looks like lately in the spec end of the market. So first things first, I got a few stocks to bring up. We've got DYM, and I just want to show you guys the daily chart. So DYM was today. This is SUM. This is MGU. This is 5GG. And this is RLG. Now, the one thing you're going to notice on all these stocks is the high volume spike to the upside, and then they all just fail. And the only one that hasn't failed so far is DYM, and that's because, well, we need a few more days to see what will actually happen. But it's pretty safe to say that this stock is most likely going to fail like the rest of them, because it's in a stage of distribution on high volumes. Now, this has 13 million shares traded today on the ASX. I'm pretty sure this doesn't include Chi-X data, so it's probably more like perhaps 18 million traded today, I believe. I haven't actually checked, but I believe it's very close to 40% of its shares on issue, total shares on issue, traded. From memory, this has about 30 to 33 million shares, so hitting 15 to 18 million shares traded today is massive. That's half the shares on issue almost traded. So we're going to take a look through this setup that happened today. We've got a nice volume push. So we got the opening candle, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles. That's 4 minutes to the upside. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the candles responsible for pushing the stock from 17.5 to 23 cents. Now, keep in mind how few shares that is compared to the rest of the shares for the day. And then keep in mind what happens with this many shares. So we've got maybe double, maybe 2.5 times the volume traded from the first 4 minutes. I'll zoom in a little bit so it's a little bit clearer. Probably a little bit more actually if I calculated it. But all this volume, and look at the price action. So what's the price action tell you? It's bouncing from 20 to 22 cents. That's 4 ticks of range. 4 ticks of range on probably triple the volume where it pushed from 17 to 23 cents. That's distribution, guys. That is distribution in a nutshell. That is shares absolutely offloading at the highs, and then people just keep buying it up for some reason. I'm not sure why. People believe this is a pump consolidate setup. So if we look at it from the perspective of the morning session, people look at this and go, that's consolidation. I look at the volumes, I go, fuck no, that is scary. That is shocking. That is the last thing I want to see in a PCP, pump, consolidate, pump setup. If you guys want to know more about the PCP setup, I've probably done like 5 videos on it. It's my favorite setup. It's A+ for me. But distribution is an A+ trap. Right? This is where people get trapped. People see VWAP. They want to buy VWAP 20. Why is VWAP not holding? There's actually, for some reason, there's a dip below. There's a whole 2 ticks below VWAP. That shouldn't happen, especially with this significant volume. And then there's a little pop to the upside. And then we end up, again, on high volumes. Right? These are the volumes, almost these volumes, were what drove the stock, which this is from 20 back to 22. These are the volumes that drove it from 17 to 23. Not 4 ticks, substantially more than 4 ticks. That's 12 ticks. So you can see reasonably high volumes are holding this stock down. This isn't a consolidation. This is distribution. And sure, you might get the odd pop to the upside and break this range of 22 that's been going on, but it's a trap. Look at the volumes. It's just a trap. If there's 30 to 40% of the shares on issue traded, or even 20% of the shares on issue traded in the first 30 minutes of the day, that's concerning, especially when it's stuck in a range on that volume. And effectively, it just keeps getting sold into pretty much the whole time. So you can see the volumes here. These are still relatively decent volumes. Like, of course, they're not the opening drive volumes, but the volumes are going to be exhausted. So there's going to be less volumes after 10:45 practically every single day on every single stock since the dawn of the ASX. So that's just how it works. Volumes taper off. But these aren't terrible volumes. These aren't shockingly small volumes. It may look that way in comparison to the opening drive, but the volumes are meant to be significantly lower or lowering. Instead, what you have are just spikes and spikes and spikes, and pretty decent spikes too. Right? 160k on a 21.5 cent stock. That's decent money flowing through. And that's just distribution. Distribution. And then what you end up having is one final sort of fake out here for some reason, and then that's pretty atypical, but it just ends up grinding back down. And this is a common thing we'll see with all of these stocks. Very, very similar setup. Again, depending on 2 things, shares on issue and the denomination of the stock. This stock's a little bit higher. This is in the 20s. We're going to take a look at SUM. This is one of the first times I flagged a concern in the microcap market straight away on Discord. This was highly concerning that this price action would happen on the fundamental news announcement that came out. I thought the value of this fundamentally, based on peer comparisons, was somewhere in like the 30-cent range from memory. It could have been a little bit less, but this is just going off the top of my head. It was a very strong news announcement given peer comparison. So what happens is a nice strong open, and soon after it breaks out on pretty okay volumes. And then it comes below VWAP. There is no defending at VWAP. There's no consolidation above VWAP on lowering volumes. And when I mean lowering, I really mean this, or volumes that are going down like that pretty sharply. But instead what we have is it goes below VWAP. That in itself is the first concern. Very early in the morning, it's 10:23, 10:20 in the morning, and the stock's already below VWAP. And then it dips below and does the double bottom. Now, I'm kind of fond of double bottoms. That used to be a play not too long ago, maybe 6 to 9 months ago. Double bottoms were just a thing. A stock would go up and very quickly double bottom and then rally. But this rally, pull back below and practically consolidate with decent volumes, and then trickle down and then go back up. It's very unusual, right? The double bottoms I'm talking about are straight up, straight down, very early in the morning by like maybe 10:20 or something like that, within the first like 15 candles or something. What we have is a retest, which I thought was very odd. Something I bought into because I thought the news was so good that it was definitely going to make new highs. That's how I had strong conviction on this play. Intraday. It was definitely not something I'd ever consider holding. I don't hold stocks. Almost never. And then it fails. There's high volume reloads here. High volume selling on its way up to retest. Now, normally you get high volumes bang on here at 20.5, which is retesting the highs, but instead you're getting it here at 19.5, 2 ticks below, so there's just intense selling before even double topping. I was like, okay, that's a bit unusual. And then again, dip below VWAP. So this was the fake out above VWAP, because it's unusual, first of all, to get below and then to get back above so soon in the day. It's just strange for a micro cap. And then it just trickles down all day. And eventually, of course, fails across the multiple days. MGU, take a look at this one on the 1 minute chart. Because, like I mentioned, low denomination, this is a 2-cent stock. So if we bring up VWAP, it's going to look pretty insignificant. There's not much room to go from 1.9 to 2.4 and then consolidate at 2.1 or anything like that and then mess around. All you have is pay attention to the volumes here, to the volumes here. Look at where it got taken from 1.9 to 2.4. That's a nice move. I got a chunk of that move. It was nice. But then look at all these volumes and then look how it moves one tick. 2.4 to 2.5 and then just 2.4. Just absolutely sick volumes of consolidation. Of distribution, sorry. So nothing here really looks like consolidation except maybe a little bit here. But then it's too late in the day. It's already done. That's it. No interest. And then it spikes a little bit, shows a little bit of interest, massive volume spike, and then what's it do? It moves at 2 ticks. 2 ticks and then fails. Right, and this is 10th of March. This is a week after I noticed the issues with the microcap space. People just mass offloading. We got a 5GG. This one was on the 7th of March. This was maybe 3 or 4 days after I wrote that message on Discord warning people about this distribution phase. Again, we have a nice push, initial drive to 27, 19.5 to 27 on not bad volumes. Relatively low volumes, but this is quite normal. But then what you'd have is usually a pullback to VWAP and then a break into new highs and a continuation on volumes probably maybe a little bit smaller than this. But instead what we have is a failure to break out of the highs and then a consolidation here on good volumes. Now I know when you look at these candles here, from 10.25 to 10.33, it may look insignificant. It's like, oh, there's nothing happening here. No, there's good chunks of volumes being churned here. Very, very, very good volumes. When you compare it to the opening drive, 19.5 to 27. Count the number of ticks between there and there based on this volume, and then compare it to the number of ticks here, which is effectively one tick move, 26.5 to 27 on these volumes, which is effectively open times 2. So you get all this price action, and then you get all this price action with even more volume. That's distribution. Just a high volume churn, reload selling, end up dipping below VWAP, and that's the first sign of concern, by the way, the dip below VWAP. And then the fake out to the upside. And people are like, oh, this is back on because it's above VWAP. It's like, nah, it's just an excuse to just bail the fuck out. Volumes here aren't exactly exciting, but the point is the distribution phase has already happened. And then it's just constant sell-off after that. There's the buy demand disappears, and you can see huge volumes at every single line on the way down. It's a drop. It's just like a set of stairs. That's all it is. A set of stairs in the afternoon. It's terrible. And it's just again, that's also part of the distribution phase. It's just shares that want to get the fuck out, whether it's traders from the morning or whether it's shares people holding, the same people who are offloading. It doesn't matter who it is. The fact that it's happening is concerning. We also have RLG on the 1 minute chart. This one, again, very low denomination, so it's not as comparable as the other stocks that are sitting above 5 cents. But what we have is a nice little opening drive. RLG, there wasn't much money in this one. I remember because I was part of the drive to the upside from, I think it was 1 or 1.1, took it to 1.4, and then scalped a tick somewhere around here. So the volumes, I recall, were pretty low, especially this part of the morning. The volumes were very low. And then there was like a little push to the upside here. Nice little push. And then the consolidation phase. But again, not consolidation, it's distribution. You might look at this and go, volumes were quite low. It's like, yeah, but they rose, they got higher and higher. And now you've actually got volumes much higher than the opening drive. And where's it going? One tick, one tick, one tick, one tick, one tick. Oh, dip below VWAP. Well, there's a fucking concern. One tick, one tick, one tick down, one tick up, one tick down, one tick up. And all this is moving in effectively a 2-tick range. From 009 to 20. That's 11 ticks. 11 ticks, mostly the opening drive on low volume and then a nice little push. And then all the subsequent volumes moving at 2-tick range. You gotta, I guess one way to look at it is compare the follow-on volumes to the morning volumes. That's probably one way to look at it. And just be like, hey, volumes look low, but when compared to the opening drive, it's actually pretty significant, and therefore it's distribution. Because volumes should be significantly lower than the opening drive in a consolidation phase. So do keep that in mind, guys. And one other thing I want to mention is we're doing a free drinks night out in a couple of weeks' time. If you want to join public Discord, I'll post the details in my next YouTube video, but otherwise it'll be hosted in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. I'm going to do a free drinks night out. Drinks all paid for, probably food as well, just be responsible. And hopefully I'll see you guys there. All right, guys, have a good one.